Hello and welcome.
Hi to you. Hi to you.
For anyone who can see us now, we've also added some more things onto the podcast as
I know
well.
it looks amazing. Can I say, do you ever watch episodes and say, "Holy fuck, I need to work on my posture"?
Yes.
I hate that.
Yes. One thing that I figured out
Yeah.
is that you have impeccable distance from the microphone. I don't.
Okay.
So I'm always sounding louder than I actually am, and that's one reason why I'm adjusting it right now.
Fair enough.
Why everyone can see that I'm adjusting it right now. But another dealer's choice for our good friend here, Rem. Rem, what are we here to talk about today?
So today, I thought we would discuss the fact that since you and I were born, and since we've developed cues to enjoy audio music,
Yeah.
we have experienced probably, and I'm just throwing out a number, 32 genres of music in our lifetime.
Well, if the 90s especially were known for anything, we're known for their genres of music.
And so even from the minute we came into the earth to today, thought we would discuss genres of music, all of them. And we would discuss some that I feel like maybe some younger people do not even know existed or were popular. Some trippy shit that kind of blew up. You could tell, I think, in a lot of ways, not to get ahead of myself though, that the 90s was the second drug revolution, I think.
There was definitely a drug revolution in the 90s. You are 100% correct there. I was going to ask, are we focusing on the 90s or is it just our lives?
Let's go. I
All
say let's start. Yeah, let's go through, man. And let's
cuz while I am an 80s child,
yeah.
and I do have my memories of the 80s, I mean musically I would say it's more for me than 90s.
Yeah, no, we'll talk from experience there, but I think that, the whole story starts for us with, if you think about it, when we came into the world, there was a type of music that was super famous that would go on to get completely cursed and just shit on by people, and that was disco and the transition from disco to new wave.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you bring up, Rem, because when you were born, disco was at its height. And I have had this conversation with people.
Yeah.
People don't realize just how influential disco is.
I agree.
To this day.
Now.
But let's for example, and I had this conversation with my wife and her friend Anastasia.
Yeah.
Beat It by Michael Jackson. The foundation of that song is disco. Most people don't think that.
See, I'm going to go a little bit. Let me go back even further. I like that, but I would say if you go to the pre-Thriller album, Off the Wall,
it's 100% the foundation of that entire album is disco. You're right.
Excuse me.
So the reason I brought up Beat It is because when people talk about Beat It, they talk about a banger of a song. It's more of a rock song. Eddie Van Halen. No one says anything about disco.
Solos.
Yeah. But if you listen to that bass and you just listen to the rhythm of that song, it's a disco driven song.
Yeah, and I think that from there you're already seeing the way that disco had influenced pop music as disco was sort of disappearing, because disco was born from our parents' generation, the more cosmopolitan versions who were in clubs doing cocaine and dancing for 4 hours at a time and having sex with strangers.
Yeah, and the reason I specifically brought up Beat It is because that's like 1982, 1983, disco's dead. But it's like, well, is it? No, it's reincorporated into other things.
And I think for the first time right now, you're hearing bands that definitely cite it. I mean, I hate to say it, but even a band like Maroon 5.
I was going to go, if we were going to go somewhat contemporary, Justin Timberlake's first album.
Yeah.
What's that? Rock With You? Or Rock? I know that's
Rock
like
With You or something.
Yeah. Rock With You, not Rock With You, Michael Jackson. The video where he's just in a room of lights. Yeah, that is a disco. That's a disco song. And
that's the thing, is the irony is all this music has a place, whether people liked it or not.
Yeah.
So we were born, and right when, what's interesting, so right as this happened, because one of the first kind of musics that really influenced me when I was that age, when I was super young, Little Red Corvette by Prince blew my mind.
Banger of a song.
Never heard melodies like that. I think it introduced me to the grandeur of music. All of Michael Jackson stuff. That Thriller era was fucking flawless.
Name me another artist who had back-to-back killer albums like he did.
I mean, a million people are saying something right now, but I know what you mean. Not killer. You mean iconic.
Yeah, I'm talking like everyone didn't think he could get beyond the shadow of the Jackson 5, and he did with Off the Wall. And then everyone said, well, whatever, he'll never be able to top that. And then he did.
And then everyone's like, well, that was his opus. And then he put out Bad, and Bad's a fucking banger.
And Bad is my favorite album by him, start to if we're talking singles, I give Thriller credit for singles like just pick a song.
It popped off.
Pick a song at random, but if you're talking an entire album, no, Bad.
That's amazing.
Bad. What's your favorite song on Bad?
It's gonna be funny. It's hard because it's such a good record, but there's two there that to me are just revelatory songs. And it's Dirty Diana.
Thank you. That's my favorite.
And then I was gonna say Man in the Mirror is also one
that's a phenomenal song.
That you're just like, this is beautiful music.
But I will tell you for 1987, the way that Michael Jackson sang on Dirty Diana.
It's a metal song.
The dude is fucking screaming his lungs out.
And let me just say, my favorite Dirty Diana story, and I'm glad I'm stupid and know stuff like this. I actually saw the video of this, so this isn't something made up. So Michael Jackson gets brought over to England to meet Princess Di and Prince Charles.
Yep.
And so when you meet those people, you always like stand in a long line of people and they walk up and shake hands and stuff. And so he gets to Diana and Charles is distracted and she's just fawning. She's like, you're amazing. Can you do me a favor? He's like, yeah, what's up? She's
like, yeah, what's up?
No, I know. I was waiting. That's why I didn't do it. I wanted to lobby it to you. And so she's like, listen, please play Dirty Diana. And he's like, I was specifically told to not play Dirty Diana.
We didn't deserve Princess Diana.
No, for real. And she's like, please, I love it. And he's like, I can't. But he was like tripped out. And then, like I said, I saw it on video. And Prince Charles, you see that he sees her with Michael Jackson. And people didn't know about the kid stuff back then necessarily. So he's just like, is Michael Jackson and Princess Di flirting? They were. It was cute as hell.
It's Michael Jackson, and like for all the fucked up fuckery that people will accuse him of, there was plenty of him that was pure. That was genuine.
Childlike.
Yes, genuine.
So Prince Charles walks over. He's like, what are you guys talking about? And she's like, no, I'm just introducing myself. Like she completely doesn't let him know that that's what they were talking about. But so yeah, and Michael Jackson, you felt that. But I'm glad we're talking about Dirty Diana because the first form of music that really made me be like, wait a second, holy shit, this is what music can do. It's so embarrassing, but let's do this because you're probably there with me, was hair metal.
Well, yeah, because so again, one thing that I think our families have in common is the age gaps between the oldest and the youngest, us. And yeah, I mean, my one of my favorite stories is my sister basically dragging my mom to a Bon Jovi concert. So my sister could equally just gawk out loud and be a teenager, but being equally embarrassed by a mother just sitting there,
not getting it,
like kind of like reserved,
closed up,
like that.
But she loved her enough to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I mean, my sister, her tastes were all pop culture, but they were varied pop culture. I want to give her because she was very diverse in her musical taste, especially in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Like she would legitimately, she would listen to the Red Hot Chili, basically Kiss 108.
Yeah.
Like Kiss 108 in the early 90s was actually like pretty badass.
It was.
You know, I remember when we were driving home from visiting my relatives in Portland, Maine, that their top 10 was In Bloom by Nirvana.
Yeah.
It was Under the Bridge by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It was Never Gonna Get It by En Vogue.
Yeah.
It was In the Closet by Michael Jackson.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wasn't In the Closet R. Kelly?
That was later.
Okay.
That was later. No, his was off of his Dangerous album.
Okay.
The one with was it Nev Campbell?
Yeah.
In the video?
Yeah.
Yeah, the something about you.
Yeah, he's singing to her.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had songs like that, and then I'm pretty sure you still had Metallica Black Album.
Well, wait, let's go back
songs in there. So
a little bit. Yeah. So we see hair metal, and that's kind of the offspring of like the 70s rock scene that was starting to develop.
Can I be honest with you? I mean, because I've told you about what the first concert I ever went to was, right?
Yeah, I don't know offhand.
It was the Monkees.
Yeah.
With Weird Al opening up for
That's
them.
iconic.
It is iconic. So literally, and the reason was because Michael Naismith, member of the Monkees, he received some money because one of his relatives created Whiteout, and he created Nickelodeon with that. And early on in Nickelodeon had to fill airtime with stuff. So it's one reason we got the iconic "You Can't Do That on Television," but we also he owned parts of the rights to the Monkees, so
Yeah.
why don't I put on the Monkees TV show? And that was my introduction to the Monkees. It was also my introduction to music.
Yeah.
And I mean, I honestly, I don't know about you, I honestly think that like Davy Jones he was an awesome singer. Like
I loved the
yeah.
Monkees.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, Daydream Believer, like
I think Daydream Believer's up there with Beatles songs.
yeah, I do too. And funny you bring that up because they were considered the put together
Fake version.
corporate
Yep. Monkees spelled wrong.
Yep. And they also put out a movie at the same time as Yellow Submarine. You know that?
Yeah, it was weird as hell.
Yeah,
Jack
Head.
Nicholson directed it.
Yeah, Head.
And it's an anti-war anthology. Basically, watch it on LSD or it'll make no sense to you type of movie.
Yeah. Well, if we knew anything about certain members of the Monkees, they were definitely.
Oh yeah,
on LSD.
yeah.
Peter, the bassist,
the one with the hat.
Yeah, Peter. He was my favorite, and it's sorry, I can't remember his name.
No, it's okay. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
So, but we also saw at the end of the '80s too, birth of hip hop.
Yes,
and that was initially New York hip hop specifically, and it was fucking amazing because it was like the band that blew up initially for a lot of people. Obviously, was Run DMC.
Yes,
that was just people's kind of introduction to that world.
And I'm not gonna lie, from the mid to late '80s to the up until gangster rap, in the early '90s.
Yep.
When I think of a lot of that music, even Rapper's Delight, I think of going to a skater rink. Like I have, and it's not all their songs sound like that, but Hard Times by Run DMC. When I hear that one, I love that song.
No, isn't
it? But I think of like literally, and that's the way it is. Yes, and I just think of everyone just going around and people just showing how they're basically figure skaters on roller skates.
It's tricky.
Yeah. And then Tone Loc. So there were a lot of one hitters.
Yeah.
And the Beastie Boys basically were
the white version of Run DMC.
They were the white version, and because Rick Rubin is the
Produced
connection
both.
for all that in Def Jam Records. But then they came out with Paul's Boutique.
Yeah, they said, "Listen, we're not the band you thought we were."
Yeah.
Paul's Boutique was like I'd never heard a fully experimental hip hop record, and they sort of got rid of the voices of the first record. Which, listen, love the Beasties. They're in the top 20. Do not like.
License to Ill.
Last Exit to Brook. Yeah. I just think it's a juvenile record.
I do too.
I think it's got catchy songs, but in a I want to listen to them once.
I think to me, it's you put it on at the back of a party. It's supposed to be background music at a party. Whereas Paul's Boutique is a sonic leap forward in a lot of things.
It's like I almost compared it to like it was as if the Beasties tried to make a Zeppelin record.
Yeah.
Or just tried to make a Frank Zappa record.
Yeah. What's your favorite song off Paul's Boutique?
There are so many, man, but I think that Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun.
That's a great one.
Is such a banger.
Yeah.
And people do
I think if you took everything in its totality, as far as this one song and everything that was done in it, it's Shake Your Rump. Okay. It's just for the fact of everything, how they layered that song is phenomenal. But I mean, just purely for like the listening of a song, it's probably High Plains Drifter.
Yeah.
And the way they layered their vocals.
Yeah. I got me running in the no, that whole excuse me, man. That whole record is absolutely phenomenal.
No, you're as far as the you're fine. You're fine.
And I think that too was one of those examples of a band also being like, how long can we make a record? 72 minutes. We're gonna make this 72 minutes. Because that was always the best when you spend $15 on a fucking CD and actually got your money's worth.
Yeah.
Because some bands would put out 11 song CDs, you know? So then we're in the 90s. We've made it to the 90s. And me and Bob experienced the birth of what we think is the greatest music scene of all time, which is?
I was already kind of formulating my thoughts when you were doing that. So for me, and I think I've talked with you about this to varying degrees. You and I have disagreed, and to varying degrees. I think from 1991 to 1996, 1997 is the last great era in just artistic music as an art form.
Yeah.
I think ever. I think there was great music that came after that period. There's still great music that comes out, but it's just like everywhere you looked, every kind of genre you could think of, there was just
So well represented.
There was more than one great act.
Yeah.
Obviously, in like the early '90s, it was grunge was the last singular like style of music, genre of music that I think we've experienced without really being very unique.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. After grunge, it was really just kind of taking existing genres and doing it in a way that people hadn't done it before. So that's what I think of. But were you talking about grunge? Was that what you were getting at?
Grunge and also the LA rap scene that came out of the 90s was an amazing thing to witness happen in real time.
One thing that started in the late 80s and continued to the 90s is older people just think of hip hop as rap. They just think of it all as one thing. I think of, first of all, the first distinct style, subset style of rap. Even though I guess you could kind of quantify groups like Boogie Down Productions and like Run DMC as this, but I think of, when I think of native tongue, I think De La Soul.
Yeah.
I just think it was for hip hop, for the cadence of hip hop and for rapping. It was just wow. Like 3 Feet High and Rising, everyone's like, wow.
What about the fact that, and this just came on because we put playlists on at work at the dispensary, and their Schoolhouse Rock version of 3 is the Magic Number came on. De La Soul.
And that's not even my favorite record by them, by the way. My favorite record is 1991's De La Soul is Dead.
Yeah.
Where they essentially just tried to assassinate
who you think of.
Who you think they are while still having native tongue. And they and people will say 3 Feet High and Rising is better, but that one was more of a artistic risk.
Yeah.
And I like that one better.
It was almost like the leap to Paul's Boutique. Like it was the same kind of difference between the two records where it was like a huge, huge step in
and they were huge on skits. Like doing skits.
Yeah.
So if you saw a De La Soul record and you saw the track listing, I mean, there's like 47 tracks, but there's like
most of them are 30-second skits.
There's skits and they're interludes to other songs.
And they're nods to things in pop culture that they like.
And ready for this, making this full circle?
Yeah.
They purposefully created a song for a skate rink on that record.
Which was?
I think it's another one with like a 7-paragraph.
Yeah,
it's like literally like chilling around skating on a Saturday afternoon.
No shit.
But by the way, that song was about 5-6 years ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Like, and it's because it sounds like, it starts off sounding like a DJ who's at a skating rink just playing random music, and they're like, hey, we're De La Soul coming to you live from this, and then all of a sudden it just sounds like someone starts to scratch and it actually goes into the song.
Yeah.
And it's them rapping phenomenally, and then they're adding in like a backup singer, which at that point hip hop didn't really have people come on and sing
to do the hooks. Yeah.
Yeah, and she did, and that's why it's like wow, like and it's called like a lazy Saturday is the name of a song.
That's cool.
And that's her hook, is that she's singing like 5 days of work.
Plus, we can say that it was De La that then opened the door for certain 90s bands like Tribe Called Quest.
And I was going to get into that would have been the next.
I didn't mean to step on your foot.
No. That's I factored. This is like us organically having a conversation.
Yeah. That's what makes it work.
And this is what we mean when Rem and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Is that's really what we mean. Is that next is Tribe, and Tribe took it.
Dude.
Yeah. And they had nicknames for it. They had their names and they had nicknames. The Abstract is one of the most badass nicknames.
Dope shit, dude.
Yeah.
That could be like a movie about a hitman or something too. And I mean, obviously Q-Tip too is a god.
Yeah.
I mean, he was birthed as a god hip hop, still doing his shit, still doing production and stuff.
And Fife was good too.
Fife Dog was dope.
Yep. Fife was good too. But then we got into Dr. Dre, and I separate him from NWA because him by himself is not
so different.
It's different, and that was his beats were driven by Parliament and Funkadelic.
I was gonna say that's all it was an evolution of,
and that's why really to me the essence of West Coast hip hop.
Ding,
it has this just laid backness to it, like Nothing But a G Thing.
Yeah,
it does not sound like, I understand people are rapping on it. It doesn't. To me, it's not a hip hop
like
song.
A soul song almost.
Because that's what makes something truly great art when it comes to music. It transcends genres.
Yeah,
Nothing But a G Thing transcends genres.
And people who weren't there don't understand that the Chronic record stopped time.
It did. People don't realize that.
Like, legitimately.
People don't realize because, number one, radio is shit now.
Yeah, it's no one fucks with it.
Nothing But a G Thing was played on rock radio.
Yeah, it was
played on rock radio.
Iconic. Everyone realized that an iconic hip hop record had just dropped.
Yep.
Unlike anything people had heard.
And that bass.
And everybody.
The doo-doo-doo-doo. Do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
Do-do-do-do.
Everybody you knew was banging that shit for a whole year.
Yep. We were all nodding. Yep. But that gets us also into, because at the same time you had, I would call it East Coast, because some people, this is where some people get confused.
Like Tupac East Coast.
Yeah,
is what you mean.
yeah. Tupac East Coast, which is on the West Coast, which is gangster rap.
The angrier shit.
Yeah, but I was, because the group I give the credit for, like gangster rap or hardcore, not even hardcore, gangster rap, is Mobb Deep.
Mobb Deep.
Yeah. Shook Ones.
Yeah.
Shook Ones Part 2.
Shook Ones is the greatest. I would argue maybe. Arguably, I would sit on a panel with 5 people and argue that it's the greatest hip hop song of all time.
It's. Why do you think that Eminem chose that for 8 Mile?
No, that's because it's the best thing. Dude, people still sample. People still rap over that.
Scared to death, scared to look. Yo, they shook because ain't no such thing as a halfway crooks. Like that's. We're here 30 years later and people still know it.
There's just so many lines in that. Like, I just hit you in the face, break your brain with your nose bone.
And it's like, it's his delivery that makes it more menacing.
But what about that moment when he's like, I'm only 19, but my mind is old.
Yep.
I listen to that. I'm like,
that's a
no, but this was a kid.
Yep. I'm only 19, but my mind is old. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's a fucking kid and he's singing the realest shit.
Yep. But then it also gets us into Wu-Tang, because I think Wu-Tang is,
that's it,
as a group, they stand alone as their own unique style. And in my opinion, nobody in hip hop told stories like them. Yeah.
Or truly introduced us properly to the culture, bro.
Yep.
Pac did it, Dear Mama. There were moments when Pac did it, but Tang did it so uniquely. And you, like, picking a favorite MC in Wu-Tang is like picking a favorite pizza ingredient. Like, it's just fucking hard to do because everybody, and there were people who, when Wu-Tang started, everyone was like, oh, Method and Red, whatever, blow. But as you get deeper, you realize, like, there's other dudes in it. RZA,
but like Cream.
That's what I'm saying.
Cash
that
moves
just
everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. Just a line, just a throwaway line that Method threw out there that becomes the iconic part of the song.
But that was another one. 36 Chambers dropped and everybody stopped what they were doing.
It's because you're stopping and starting. It's the noise gate.
It was processing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it thinks you stop, so it starts to fade you out.
Fair enough. But yeah, it was remarkable to see that. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, there were other genres that poked out in the 90s. I know,
and this is ultimately why we started that. We wanted to do the episode.
So,
do you remember? So there's 2 songs that fall into what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I think I know which one you were referencing. But essentially, Remy texted me, he hit me up and was like, can we do an episode about how, like, in 1992, like, Gregorian chants were a thing in songs? Do you know the... So there's 2 songs. There's the one that I would say makes you feel like you're floating over the ocean, like you're soaring like a bird. There's that one.
Yeah.
But that one's set to like a string arrangement. And then there's the I can only describe it as like church, like a church choir.
Yeah.
That's the one I think of when I think of Gregorian chanting. So that one is by the Germany-based group Enigma.
Yes, that's what I just sang.
Yeah. Sadness Part 1. Yeah.
Dude, I listened to that yesterday at work.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Gregorian chanting is, it's essentially it originally was an a cappella type of music, which means there's no backing. There's no backing music. You literally have like
it's monks.
You have like monks because it was religious music because it was from the Dark Ages.
In a church hall.
Yeah, using the acoustics of a church hall.
No amps.
You didn't really have like altos and you just had a bunch of people who sounded a little different.
Yeah.
You put them together, but everyone pretty much had the same pitch. Yeah, and it's singing religious hymns. And that's where it started.
And like it came out, so that it came out through the band Enigma.
And it was popular in from the 6th to the 11th century. So we brought something back 800, 900 years later.
And it just appeared. That's what people don't understand is suddenly amid grunge and rap, our parents were buying these chant records and chants were getting on the top 40 fucking radio charts.
But somebody thought this is the reason it's relevant because somebody said, hey, why don't we put it over EDM, electronic dance music?
Yeah.
Not EDM in the sense that people thought of EDM, but the foundation of EDM.
Well, wait, but for there you need to start the EDM discussion and say, do you know what EDM is?
Well, I don't know about you, but when I think the band that popularized what people would call dance EDM music, I think it's Depeche Mode. I think, and I know that in their careers, you can't just say they're EDM. You can't just say because there are a lot of things.
I think they're new wave.
Their early stuff is new wave.
Yeah.
But then then they start to cross over, like music for the masses.
Yeah.
Like that's a dance. That's a dance record.
Yeah.
Like with Strangelove. Strangelove isn't a new wave song. That's a dance.
They have a new record out
That's
this year.
Oh well, I went and saw them like 5 years ago. They still got it. They're amazing. They're amazing. Yeah. But like, yeah, when they get into Violator, like that is the ultimate like mixing EDM and rock.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then what you're referencing, which by the way is my favorite album by them, which was Songs of Faith and Devotion.
Yeah, that record is different. That record hit in a time and they changed their sound to fit the time.
Yeah, but still be themselves.
Yeah.
And made a record that
Depeche Mode music is really good to fuck to.
It's because Dave Gagan. Dave Gagan is he has a voice. Look. Yeah. But yeah, so that's an example there of a band that started in the late 70s. And they started they're from the UK. So the UK really for a long time, it's not like today where we live in a world that's very it's a lot smaller.
Yeah.
It's literally was a time where music was being created places that nobody was hearing unless you lived there. And then slowly people would make bootlegs and the bootlegs would make their way around the world.
Or a band would tour and people would be like, oh, this is who
like they'd literally just be a backing band for a local band. And then people like, oh my goodness, like who is this artist?
Yeah.
Artist is phenomenal. But I think of that. So let's get, we've gone on tangents, but it's fine. We always go on tangents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the UK, there were people basically with a Rastafarian background, whether they were Rastafarian or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were making what is we would call today house music.
With double hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So they were making like electronic dance music, but they were adding in elements of hip hop.
But very like boom, dip, boom, dip, boom, dip, dip, boom, dip, dip. Like not conventional drum patterns that you would hear in American music.
Yeah, not 808, not electronic drum kits. They were literally just creating these beats that had a lot of bass to them, and but they still wanted you to get up and dance.
Well, yeah, it had they all had this like fucking rhythm, like seriously, like a driving like I gotta stop doing that.
The robots,
yeah, like we'll get ahead of ourselves.
Wanted to fuck, yeah. But yeah, what came out of that was
raves,
but also what came out of that is something that when it hit, it's a phenomenal genre, but it didn't have a large like shelf life of a genre.
Yeah.
It still exists, but I mean where it was like paid attention to. And that is where some people started to try to take the dubstep, the EDM, hip hop, and rock and fuse it all together.
Yeah.
And when I think of that, and essentially it's trip hop. And when I think of that,
tricky, I
think of Portishead.
Yeah.
Like, Portishead did things that were amazing. With the fact that they were trying to do it with a live band and instruments and a singer who was
super down tempo.
Yep.
Super like relaxing, haunting, trippy with ghost-like vocals.
Haunting, yeah.
And they were another one that appeared and everyone was like, holy shit. Everybody stopped what they were doing when give me a reason to stay and to love you. That's what it is.
And that's the reason that that's the first time I ever heard Isaac Hayes, because that's a sample of Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
Ike's Rap, Part 2.
Nice.
That's how I remember that. The basic foundation of that song is his song. They just sampled it. And that led me into one of what I think is one of the great songs that I've ever heard.
Glory Box?
And that is it's an Isaac Hayes song. It led me into it led me into his cover of Pass Me By.
She keeps on the original version.
Yeah, because he covered Dionne Warwick's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most people don't know that because he made it so
unique to himself
that it just sounds like something that exists. The first 2 minutes of that song, I think, is one of the most badass experiences you can have from music.
Nice.
Yeah. If you've never heard it.
I can't reference it.
All right. I wish I could play it. I'll play it for you
later.
Drive
it on the ride home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so the scene was budding, and then we started getting into a global world. So that started jumping the Atlantic. And then all these people started just influencing each other. And we had a lovely man by the name of Joshua Davis. That's his real name.
Oh, wow.
But do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Because most people would know him as DJ Shadow.
There we go. I did.
Yeah.
We just talked about this.
Joshua Davis from California. Most people don't know. He's always been a DJ. He's always been experimenting. But then he moved over to the UK. He was originally signed to a label in the UK.
Yeah.
And that's where he got influenced. And then in the mid 90s, he dropped what at the time was called a hip hop record.
Yeah.
I think it's also something that transcends genres.
Yeah, I think that's a tough call.
Yeah. It's because that it's hip hop.
No,
Or
that to try to put it in one.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's art. That's how I put it. It's art.
Yeah.
It is art in the highest sense of the word, in my opinion. And this is where some people may not agree with me. I think singularly, it is the biggest artistic achievement of the 90s, what he did.
Just because it was so grandiose for one person to do it.
And because when you actually peel the layers back and see what he did,
yeah,
it's mesmerizing.
You know what the worst thing, man, is I really genuinely wish that we were allowed to play clips on the
right?
show.
Yeah.
Because there are
we wouldn't get flagged.
Yeah, because there's the references, like people don't understand that dude appeared with Introducing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everybody stopped, got the record, and still, here's the thing about all the records we've mentioned, they're all still fucking fire.
Yep. His
they don't age.
Building Steam was in a truck commercial.
No, they have a lot.
It was in a truck commercial, and that's the opening song to Introducing.
Days of the Week.
Shadow. Yep, Days of the Week.
I've heard that in a few different occasions.
Obviously, Midnight in a Perfect World is probably one of his most iconic ones. And the reason why I give him all this credit, everybody, is because every single 99% of that album was sampled.
Yeah.
The drum,
sampled and patched and pieced
the drum
together.
beats, the vocals. There are 2 vocals that are not sampled. One was his friend, who was on the record, the front of the record, I believe.
Yeah.
The guy saying, in Midnight in a Perfect World, foresight, insight, the clock on the wall reads 1/4 past. That's his friend actually rapping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then him saying shit's fat before
Oh,
that.
yeah. Starting that.
And then other than that, in what's the other iconic song from that album? There's like 5 iconic songs.
That's the problem.
But the one that's got the organ in it.
Yeah.
You know, the do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the name of it is.
But it's not that song. It's the one that has that as the interlude.
Oh, okay.
So the one where it starts with the like the ding ding do. Yeah, he has who is his wife. She's talking about Xanadu. I don't know if you remember that part. She's just saying, I saw the movie Xanadu and I just wanted to roller skate.
Jane Fonda.
Those are the only 2 parts that weren't sampled.
No shit.
Yeah, of like a 60-minute record.
Yeah.
Everything else is sampled. If you hear that, you'd figure that maybe somebody did drums here or there. Yes, he literally took drums off of an instructional drumming record.
Yeah.
A vinyl record. Everything was done on a vinyl.
Do it where you get it.
Like taking that, all the drumming. And when we talk about that song that I was just talking about, like the drumming on that one, like the fact that he literally just cut and pasted.
Yeah, a lot of people do that now.
And was creating double bass
Nuts,
and like breakdowns on drum kits.
Yeah.
With that. I mean, it's just
crazy
it's
shit.
just, it's stuff. I mean, for your first full-length record, it kind of sucks because where do you go from there?
Yeah, you can't.
Like you've reached Mount Everest. You've reached the top of Mount Everest. So where do you go?
All right. So then I'm going to take the mic back for a little bit. So at this point with Shadow, we got the introduction of pop techno, which we'd never had. You talked about EDM, and that was kind of the birth of it. But we had people like we've talked about Fatboy Slim. You had people like Moby's Play record. You have people like BT. You have people like Chemical Brothers, the Dust Brothers. You know, these incredible people. But again, we watch this stuff appear. We watch people cut and paste genres and build new genres. I mean,
we didn't even talk about Prodigy.
Well, I was just about to.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's what I was like,
just see that the problem is
it happens all the time.
We do it all the time.
And that gave birth, I think, almost like an angrier version of techno.
I was gonna say, like when they
were metal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like that's like headbanging shit though. That
100%.
Yeah. And by the way, one of my favorite core memories is my sister and I watching Internal Affair. Remember that show, Internal Affair?
No.
It was like a tabloid.
Oh, like a fucking one of those Entertainment Tonight. Yes.
And someone talking about how the song "Smack My Bitch Up" was
promoted abuse. Dude.
Yeah, but not just that, but then the shock of all shocks in the music video.
It's a girl.
It's a lady. But the way that this is a talking head. With Prodigy's latest song, "Smack My Bitch Up."
Of course.
And I'm sitting there just laughing my ass off with my sister as we're like, the fuck is... You're trying to make serious like news and you pull that shit? Fuck you.
Yeah, well, that was the start of fucking cancel culture.
Yeah, it's true.
But so yeah, they came out and then, but other things that happened. So we're still in the 90s and it's like suddenly there's another thing that happened. One of the emerging genres, and I think you'll have some interesting stuff to say about this, because we can talk about like the Bosstones. There was a term in the 90s when suddenly ska.
Well done. I mean, that's Boston's own.
Burst out of the dirt, and there was like a year with No Doubt and Bosstones, and fucking
Sublime and Cherry Poppin'
Save
Daddies
Ferris and no, not even, because that's swing. You're getting ahead. I think
Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Yeah, I was thinking of what the fuck is that other? They also only had the Voodoo Daddies.
Voodoo Daddies.
Yeah, but I mean,
no,
yeah,
that's also swing.
They're like a tweener though.
Yeah, but I think, but let's
Cherry
save
Poppin' Daddies
those.
are more ska, but they're like a tweener. Yeah.
But yeah, and it was this interesting music that was again sort of influenced by multiracial parts of the world, where there was horns and it was dance music, and the guitar was strummed upward like reggae. It was I never liked ska. Bosstones were cool. They were a local band. They did it for like 19 years before they blew up. But I was never a big fan of it. I thought it was a little bit hyper. I found it a little bit. I just didn't think it had a lot. I didn't think you could listen to one of those songs and be like, wow, the depth of this.
I would, yeah. I mean, so there's only really one song they have that I would say that about, like that it has like that kind of depth. And there's probably Someday, I suppose. Like, that's probably the one I would go. I mean, that's just a phenomenal.
Someday, I suppose.
The way they layered it too.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have your horn section come in and just have a building momentum and not just being like not just the dun 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 dun.
Did you like ska?
Did I like Scott? No.
Yeah, just never spoke to me.
My sister and her friends they went through that phase.
Yeah, God bless them.
Yeah, where Brian Setzer was a thing again.
Well, no, see, I think you're bringing up all the wrong. I don't think swing and ska are close at all, in my opinion. Brian Setzer, Voodoo Poppin' Daddies, all those are swing. That was the resurgence of like in the afterlife. It's all that swing shit. I think that was a really trashy period. I hated
that's trash. Yeah,
I hated it. But that was another one. Suddenly, swing music came back, and dudes wearing like the three-piece suits and doing the fucking No, like you said,
like literally,
zoot suit
it's
shit.
not just the zoots. It's not just the name of a song. It's zoot suits.
It literally was a thing. And so that popped out. Yeah, that popped up in the middle, and I was like, "Where the fuck?" But we were hungry in the '90s for shit.
Yeah. Can I be honest though? That's the music I hate the most by no doubt.
Yeah,
is their ska. I actually hate that the most.
I just hate the band. I hate Gwen Stefani. I think she's fake as fuck. She looks like she's trying to do fucking blackface now.
They put out one good album. Their first
Tragic Kingdom.
Yeah, that was good. Except for like, because people be like, "Oh, Spiderweb." No, I hate that song. That song sucks. No, I'm Just a Girl. No, that's a good song. It's a good pop. I like it's a good anthem.
The opening riff is good.
Yeah, it's a good song. Don't Speak was good, but it's overplayed. It's just like I hate overplayed songs. Like I'm over them.
But then the weirdest thing happened, right? Then after that, she got quiet for a couple years, and suddenly, rap rock.
Oh yeah.
Let's not forget late '90s and into 2005. That was the shit.
But if we're gonna bring that up, we have to pay homage to the groups that really kick those doors down for them.
Onyx, Run DMC, Aerosmith, Biohazard,
and
Public Enemy, and Anthrax.
And
I did three.
Even though they only really had one song, Faith No More, epic.
You think that was? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because it was a hit. That's why I say it, because it was.
No, fair enough.
It was. Some people would say that's their only hit, and I'd say you're wrong.
By the way, I decided we're going to do a whole Faith No More episode, Mike Patton episode. So stay tuned.
Oh, that's fine. I like how you put on Mike Patton, because Mike Patton by himself is like the Dos Equis
That's a
guy.
Week worth of episodes.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna have to take a week off after that.
But yeah, no, and you started to hear that. You started to hear this influence of hip hop, but it was coming through the rock music really angrily, and it was like, think of Biscuit, think of Linkin Park.
So if you think late '90s rap rock, when that came out, I think you have to talk about the foundations and where they were laid.
Korn.
You have to talk about not just Korn, but you have to talk about and you did touch upon Biohazard, because I was talking about metal and rock started to go away from like guitar solos. They started to emphasize the breakdowns.
Yeah.
They started to drop down in keys.
Add extra strings to the guitar.
And much like you were saying, they started to get aggressive.
Yeah.
And they started to get lyrically aggressive. And all these other genres certain artists started to kind of get together and started to make it. And some of them just basically jumped on the teat, like Limp Bizkit just jumped on the teat. They did. They were identified, and then they ran with that teat.
Oh, they did,
everything they was. But I give them credit in the last like 7, 8, 9 years. Where
self-awareness.
Where they're self-aware, and I appreciate that.
I'd go see a Biscuit show in a second.
I appreciate that I appreciate who Fred Durst is now for how much I loathed him
Yeah.
at his height.
Because he was the ultimate fuckboy.
Yeah, he was the ultimate. He realized the moment and embraced that. He let it embrace the douchebag part of his personality.
100%.
And let the douchebag take over for a few years. And that's where I was like, and by the time Chocolate Starfish dropped, it was like
People were burnt out.
Like you just rhymed here with here.
I remember the first record, $3 Bills, y'all.
That's a
hard record.
That's a pretty hard. That's a hard record.
It was on. I was at this party. I'll never forget this. And like talking to some dumb cheerleader bitches or whatever. And there's one part on that first record. And I forget what song it is, but he says, "Suck on yourself, you whore." And I remember I'm sitting there like talking to this.
But Fred had a pretty good. He had a pretty good growl.
No, it's a good scream.
But was it? I was going to ask, was it that or was it his "Suck on yourself, you whore"?
No, It was from the first record,
All
so
right.
it was kind of like, yeah. And I remember this girl was like, "Oh my god, what are we listening to?" And that's when I remember I being like, "Yeah, no, really, what are we listening to? I want to buy this."
My friend, the first time we heard Faith,
yeah,
he said that's an awesome cover, except for the end. And I said, "That's like the best crescendo."
The breakdown, yeah,
that's the best crescendo, and the scratching breakdown.
Yeah.
Come on,
yeah.
and then his screaming at the end. Oh,
you want to hear scratching, right? Like,
yeah. And then we had metal groups like Slipknot, because they're not a rap.
That doesn't matter. They got DJs.
But they put
scratching.
DJs in there. You had groups like Incubus mixing in DJs. I also think of like at the foundation of groups mixing in DJs, Mission of Burma was the first group that did that.
Yeah.
And then people went away from it for a long time. But you had groups that were doing it, accentuating their music.
Yeah.
And then we got Kid Rock.
Well, yeah, no, and that's the thing. Every scene we've seen implodes. That's the thing. And so this one did too. And so at that point, we're in the early aughts. What's happening in the early aughts with music, Bob?
I think much like people our age, I think everyone lost their way. And people
Pop took over again.
Yeah.
Because there was no direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the default.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you go back to default settings, it's pop music. For better or worse. And for us, it was worse. And then every now and then it was sprinkled with some great music.
Yeah.
Like I think when Speakerbox The Love Below came out, like I was like, thank you for having something. Yes, the ATLENs themselves. Yes,
yeah.
Outkast. Literally a double album where Big Boy did Speakerbox.
Yeah, and
Andre did The Love Below, where basically he was trying to be Prince, and I appreciate him for it because he did a hell of a job.
Yeah, hey, man, do your thing.
Yes. Even last, when he growing out his hair.
But then pop just became, I mean, you have people right now, I'd say, hip hop's huge, but pop reigns supreme again. You got a girl like Taylor Swift who's worth fucking billions.
Mm-hmm.
You have pop artists like Billie Eilish who are like fucking 20 and making billions. And it's very strange too.
And Post Malone. Even though I like Post Malone.
I like Posty.
I do too.
I do. I think he's a talented dude.
I think he's a unicorn because he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And it's okay.
Yeah, I've seen him doing.
And I think we need more of that.
You see his cover of Them Bones?
Yeah.
You have? Dude, fucking awesome. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
didn't he do a
whole Nirvana concert?
Yeah, during COVID, he did the whole Nirvana concert.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's a talented dude. Mm-hmm. You don't have to like him. I mean, he also seems very nice though in interviews.
If we take a view from 10,000 feet for what this is about, like what this episode, our upbringing musically. Think about that. I think this is the reason people our age are so diverse. We're so eclectic.
Yeah.
We're so accepting.
Because if we wouldn't, we would have been left behind.
Not just that. I mean, it's just because that's like the foundation that was laid for us. So as much as I detest the music business, I say thank you for allowing all of these kind of genres to really
to have a place to at least try and spread some fucking roots,
Yeah.
Thing is, it's dope. Like, I wish 5 more genres. Well, there are genres now that me and Bob don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know anything about hyperpop? Probably not.
Nope.
It's like a techno-driven pop music that's like 250 BPMs.
Yeah.
Crazy shit. But there's a lot out there right now. But you know what? That's fucking good. That's reflective of a curious and creative culture trying to start new things. And what do you?
And people who know me very well would accuse me of just I hate modern music.
Yeah.
I say overall I do, but it doesn't mean I hate everybody.
Yeah,
like The Weeknd. I think when he hits, he's masterful.
Yeah, he's a great singer.
Yeah. Blinding Lights.
Yeah,
that's a great song outside of time. What he did with everything. First off, his voice is a weapon that he uses very well.
You ever heard his Dirty Diana?
Yes, I have.
Very,
and when we were talking about that is one thought that popped in my head. Is he did a damn good job.
Yeah.
But I think of his song "Earned It." That's my favorite song by him.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about that is he decided, you know what? I need to go Motown.
Fuck it, yeah, bro.
I need the studio, the massive studio. We're all in it. We're just allowing the reverb to kind of come back, go back and forth. We need strings. I'm gonna layer my vocals over it. We'll have a little bit of hip hop bass to it, but we're gonna de-emphasize the hip hop, which people don't do nowadays. Turn it up to 11, and he does stuff like that. I love, when he was picked to do the Super Bowl halftime show, I said I can see why he should.
Yeah,
he should. Some people I've talked to are like, he sucks.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah,
but like, and I've learned I actually am more open to a lot of the new stuff. Spotify does weekly things Monday where they give you new bands, and I've actually found some shit, and I'm like, wow, there were some really, really talented, interesting bands out there. But also, we're older now. Like, we're not at the peak of the mountain, which we were in the 90s. Now all this stuff's for a younger generation, for them to thrive and build a world off of. And all I say is that creativity is dope. It was actually very cool to come up in a time like that because, like you said, now a playlist comes on at work and I can fuck with almost any kind of music besides country because fuck you, country. And it's because of that. It's because I was exposed to it. Didn't really have a choice. If you weren't into eclectic music, you were going to be fucked because new shit was popping out. Yeah, for real.
Left behind. Yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm sure that on the ride back, we're going to talk about 40 other genres we forgot to bring up, and that's fine.
There's only so much time that we can talk about it, and we focus, as always, on the shit that's relevant to us. But one thing we love these episodes to be is to be interactive so that you can see it or you can listen to it. And then if you want to reach out to us on the socials, you really don't like that, do you?
No, can I talk about it?
Yeah, go for it.
Right. Dear Dunkin' Donuts.
Fuck you.
Oh, man, no.
Sincerely.
No, don't say fuck you and sign it my name. What the fuck is wrong with you? Sincerely, you.